In the magical land of Valthorne, where sparkly lights floated in the air like tiny stars, there was a big, beautiful castle. The castle belonged to King Alaric, a kind man with a warm smile who loved his people. He wore a special crown that wasn't just shiny gold, it was full of old magic that kept Valthorne happy, with green fields, full markets, and laughing children. Everyone loved King Alaric, but one person didn't just want to love him, they wanted to be him. That person was Sylas, a tricky magician with clever hands and a heart full of big dreams. Sylas wasn't born in a fancy house. He grew up in the muddy streets of Lowmarket, a poor part of Valthorne where kids played in puddles and families worked hard for every coin. As a boy, Sylas learned to do tricks, making apples disappear or turning sticks into flowers. People clapped and gave him pennies, but he wanted more. He practiced secret magic, drawing glowing shapes called runes that could make people see things that weren't there. By the time he was grown, Sylas was so good that he got a job in the castle, helping King Alaric with advice and showing off his tricks at parties. The king liked him, but Sylas's eyes were always on the crown. That crown was special. It wasn't just pretty, it had magic that made the kingdom strong. Sylas heard it whispering to him at night, saying, "Wear me, and you'll be king." He couldn't stop thinking about it. He didn't want to hurt Alaric, but he wanted to sit on the throne and have everyone bow to him. So, Sylas made a plan, a sneaky, clever plan to steal the crown and the kingdom without anyone knowing it was him. For months, Sylas worked in secret. He went to taverns and whispered stories to make people think King Alaric was getting old and weak. "The king's tired," he'd say, using a tiny spell to make his words sound true. He paid a scared writer with shaky hands to make a fake letter. The letter said, "If King Alaric gets sick, Sylas will be king until he's better." The writer didn't want to do it, but Sylas gave him gold and promised he'd be safe. The next day, the writer was gone, and nobody ever saw him again. Sylas felt a little bad, but he told himself it was for his big dream. The best time for his plan was the Moonlit Festival, a huge party where everyone in Valthorne came to the castle. They wore sparkly masks shaped like birds and stars, dancing under lanterns that glowed like fireflies. King Alaric loved the festival, and he always took off his crown during the party, leaving it in the throne room on a soft red pillow. Guards watched it, but Sylas knew how to trick them. On the night of the festival, a big storm was coming, with dark clouds and rumbly thunder. Sylas used his magic to change his face. He looked like a tall duke from far away, with a curly beard and blue eyes. Nobody knew it was him. While everyone danced, he sneaked to the throne room. The crown glowed on its pillow, surrounded by magic locks that sparkled like tiny walls. Sylas whispered secret words, his hands drawing runes that glowed soft blue. The locks fought back, buzzing like angry bees, but Sylas was smart. He worked slowly, undoing each lock like a puzzle. His heart beat fast when he heard a guard's boots clomp nearby. Quick as a mouse, Sylas used a shadow spell to hide, turning almost invisible. The guard looked around, scratched his head, and walked away. Sylas let out a quiet breath and kept working. Finally, the last lock broke, and he grabbed the crown. It felt warm, like it was alive, and he hid it in his cloak. Stealing the crown wasn't enough. Sylas needed everyone to think he should be king. He went back to the party, still looking like the duke. In his pocket was a tiny bottle of magic juice he'd made from plants in a dark swamp. The juice could make someone act silly, like they were seeing things that weren't there. When nobody was looking, Sylas poured the juice into King Alaric's drink. The king stood up to talk to everyone, holding his cup high. "To Valthorne," he said, smiling, but then his eyes got funny. He started talking about dragons in the sky and tripped over a chair. Everyone gasped, whispering, "What's wrong with the king?" Sylas stepped up, looking sad but secretly happy. "The king is sick," he said, showing the fake letter. "This says I'll take care of the kingdom until he's better." The lords and ladies, confused and worried, nodded. They didn't know what else to do. By morning, Alaric was locked in his room with guards outside, and Sylas sat on the throne, the crown on his head. It felt heavy, and sometimes it showed him pictures in his mind. His old muddy street, Alaric's kind face, and his own sneaky smile. He didn't like that, but he told himself he was king now. Things went well for a few days. Sylas used magic to make the lords and ladies like him, and he made fake pictures of full markets to trick everyone into thinking Valthorne was perfect. But the crown's magic was tricky. It knew Sylas wasn't the real king, and it started to dim, making him nervous. He saw his true face in mirrors, not a king, but a scared boy from Lowmarket. Not everyone believed Sylas. A young squire named Lila, who was only 16 but smart as a fox, loved King Alaric. She used to bring him flowers from the garden and listen to his stories. Lila noticed that Alaric only acted sick when Sylas was around. That seemed strange. One night, she sneaked through the castle's dark halls, quiet as a shadow. She found Sylas's room and saw his magic book, full of glowing runes, and the bottle of swamp juice. Lila's mom used to mix medicines, so she knew that juice was bad news. She figured out Sylas was tricking everyone. Lila didn't tell the lords, they might not believe her. Instead, she talked to the castle's workers, the cooks who baked bread, the maids who cleaned rooms, and the stable boys who fed horses. They didn't like Sylas because he ignored them, acting like they were invisible. Lila told them the truth, and they agreed to help. They whispered to everyone in the markets and streets, saying, "Sylas is a liar. The king's not sick." Sylas felt people looking at him funny. He got scared and used more magic, making guards march all day with glowing eyes. He cast spells to show fake flowers blooming everywhere, but the crown kept whispering, "You're not true." Lila knew she had to act fast. She remembered her mom's old herb tricks and made a new juice to stop Sylas's magic. At a big castle dinner, she sneaked into the kitchen and poured her juice into Sylas's cup when nobody was looking. When Sylas drank, his fake duke face started to shake. Right in front of everyone, his curly beard vanished, and his blue eyes turned back to his real dark ones. The lords gasped. "It's Sylas," someone shouted. The crown got hot, so hot he dropped it, and it rolled across the floor. Everyone saw he wasn't a duke, just a tricky magician. The room was loud with angry voices. King Alaric, who'd been getting better without Sylas's juice, heard the noise and ran in. He looked strong again, his eyes clear. Lila stood next to him, holding the magic book she'd found. "Sylas tricked us," she said, showing everyone the bottle. The lords were mad, and the guards grabbed Sylas. He tried one last spell, throwing a big ball of fire at Alaric, but the crown glowed bright and stopped it, like a magic shield. Then it turned Sylas's own spell against him, wrapping him in glowing ropes so he couldn't move. "You wanted my throne," Alaric said, his voice calm but strong, "but you forgot the people." The crowd cheered for their king. Sylas was taken away, and the crown's magic took away his powers, leaving him just a man. He was sent far away to the wild forests, where he could only whisper tricks to the trees. Lila became a hero. Alaric made her a knight, giving her a shiny sword and a new cloak. The kingdom threw a big party, bigger than the moonlit festival, with cakes and songs. Valthorne was happy again, its fields green, its people smiling. Alaric wore his crown, and it shone brighter than ever. So, little dreamer, as you snuggle under your blanket, think of Valthorne's sparkly lights. The crown is safe, the king is kind, and clever Lila watches over everyone. No tricks can beat a true heart. Close your eyes and sleep tight, knowing the castle's magic will keep you safe tonight.